Hey guys, it's your girl Lady Shake, geekxxchic, and guess what? The Gifted's back. It's back. I'm so excited. Yes, it's hard to believe it has been, oh gosh, what, 4 or 5 months since the finale, and wow, what a finale it was. We ended on a very interesting note with this show. A lot happened in season 1. Quite a bit of ground was covered as far as letting us know the kind of world we were living in, what part of the X-Men universe or the larger Marvel universe we were a part of. And lines were drawn in the sand. Some very big lines were drawn in the sand, particularly in the 2-part finale. And so, very quick recap. I know the show is going to have one, but just in the interest of fair use time, I'm not going to let, watch all of that or put that all in this video. But I think the biggest things that we can take away or would be concerned with that came out of the finale was really that we lost a good chunk of the characters we kind of got to know last season that were part of the underground, namely Polaris. Polaris decided that, she was sick and tired of living her life in fear, and she was sick and tired of having to deal with the constant attacks at her safety and her being pregnant. Of course, she had a very vested interest in staying as safe as possible, and she did not believe that the underground were going to give her what she needed as far as security anymore. And I think she'd always kind of had a bit of an inclination towards wanting to forcefully take control of the situation, but meeting the Stepford Cuckoos last season, who we discovered were working for another larger organization that was founded by the Brotherhood, but I believe are now calling themselves the Circle. They kind of just gave Polaris the push I think she'd always kind of secretly wanted to move to their side of things, and we know that that side of the mutant movement is basically a military, like they're like a militarized sect of mutants that are sick and tired of being used and abused and having their rights infringed upon. With Polaris leaving, she left not by herself. A handful of people ended up going with the Brotherhood as well. We lost I'm sorry, the names are going to elude me right now because I have not watched this show since the finale. But there was the girl who was crazy smart with all the calculations. Can't remember her name. She left as well. And of course, with the main family, the anchor of the show, which is the Strucker family, we saw that Andy chose to leave and go with them because Andy, throughout season 1, we saw him struggle with a lot of things, but mainly he kind of, being the kid who was bullied even before he knew he was a mutant, and then having, this constant barrage of people coming after him, people trying to kidnap him and his sister, people hurting people he cared about. Like, he just basically needed an outlet. Like, Andy is a very ragey boy, and this circle, this Brotherhood, they really were basically telling him, hey, you won't have to hold back anymore. You can just go around and wreck things and hurt people all you want, and we're not going to stop you as long as they're human, or even mutants who happen to be in our way. So Andy decided to go to that side as well, and obviously it was a huge blow to the mutant underground because Polaris, obviously one of the strongest mutants that they have, but obviously for the Strucker family to have their son go to something that to them represents, not the things that they believe, which is that there's a peaceful way to kind of come to an agreement between humans and mutants. It was a bit rough. So that's kind of where we left things at the end of season 2. I know last season I said at some point the mutants need to work together if they really want to fight back against the government that's trying to actively kill or capture them. But how far are they willing to go on either side to kind of make that happen is, I think, going to be a huge, huge theme this season. So without any more preamble, let's get into this episode, the season premiere of season 2. I am excited for this, but I'm also a little nervous. Sophomore seasons of shows are, they tend to be hit or miss. I've seen some that have been great and others that have been terrible. I'm hoping that this one is the former. And this episode is called eMergence, which is very different because all the episodes of season 1 always had an X in it of some kind. This is the first one that doesn't. So I'm wondering if that already is telling us that the tone of the season is going to be different. But we're not going to know until we watch the episode. So let's jump on into this and ba-boop.
You want answers? Well, I have them.
About time.
Just listen.
Okay.
What do we all want?
To look as good in a white suit as you do.
We want peace.
Oh.
We want freedom. Let's press forward to building a future that we have together.
I could tell he was giving her shade look the entire time.
A very pretty speech, Reva. Bravo.
Reva. Okay.
The girls acted on my instructions.
You had no right. Your plan is insane.
Ooh.
The point is,
Old versus new. Dude, why did you take so long to wind up your power, girl? I knew this was gonna happen. Really, sir? It took you that long? All right, it's like that. Old Hellfire Club out. Oh, well, that's over, sweetie. I wouldn't daydream about it if I was you. You killed that to death.
hey, you ready to go?
I cannot take this hair seriously. Liberty Park Apartments. Oh, look at the name, Liberty Park. Aww. Wow.
Whoa, chill. Don't do whatever it is you're about to do. Let's go.
It's like, I don't even know your powers, Bray. Let's not go there.
I found the first group.
Coming in. We have to run.
Speaking of ways out, that's my specialty. Nice. She opened that portal with no difficulty. Good job, Blank. So this is like an underground hospital, or? I'm confused.
I made papers and IDs for the people we picked up. Should be good enough to get them out of town, but
Wow, Reid's now in the smuggling of people business.
When John tracked Andy and Lorna to DC, I hope.
I did too.
That boy made a grown-ass decision. Let him live with the consequences. I love how they show the difference between like the underground showing up in a beat-up old SUV and these guys rolling up in fresh Cadillacs.
This was the only place strong enough.
Really, girl? Can you get your Braxton Hicks under control? Sheesh.
Sorry, I was just kicking.
Okay. Gotta wear full body armor around this chick, man.
Have I made sacrifices? Yes. I lost good friends, Lorna. But for the sake of what it is that we are building, I would sacrifice anything.
There you go. Including your baby. Remember that.
The question today isn't whether this place is ours. The question is whether you give it to us or we take it.
Fair enough. This looks like a tidy sum. I'll count it outside.
What?
Oh, the puppy.
Want this?
That is not good etiquette for a dog.
I'll talk to him, right?
Remember, there's a minor in the home. No need for her to see things she ain't ready for.
Finish the dishes.
Haha! Smart girl. You didn't think you're getting out the housework that easy, did you? I mean, you fine, but you ain't that fine. Okay.
Not really, unless you count Ivan. Ran the dogs himself.
What's going on? What's going on, Reid? What's that headache?
Maybe
Please don't just be stressed.
Found you.
All right, what you about to do, silly girl? Or are you meeting Andy on the sly? Is that what's happening? Ah, okay.
Your hair,
It's stupid.
your clothes are
It's stupid.
chose you.
Why are you fighting? This is who we are.
Oh, is this a nightmare?
No, go.
Whoa. Okay, so it's a dream. I thought they were a little too polar opposite to be meeting, but I didn't know.
Weird. You saw him. You saw Andy. Yes.
Oh, okay, that's true. She wouldn't have known with the hair.
Different.
Why is there a spotlight over the sink? Don't do something stupid, woman.
I'm done waiting.
Can we please send the girl to be with her son, please? Both of them don't think very well. Just put them together.
I'm just getting things ready and fine.
Miss Dane, with all due respect,
You had a preterm contraction that moved a 6,000-pound car. You should be on bed rest immediately.
Thank you for putting that in perspective, doctor. That's crazy.
Stop. However you act. Promise me.
Interesting. I like these steaks.
Yeah. Okay.
I really wouldn't trust Andy with like the care of my cat, but I understand where this is going.
You sure you want to do this?
Of course you.
Of course I do. I like making foolish decisions like my child.
Wire, don't do this. We don't have any more money.
Well,
Right.
we may have a problem because these people you're looking for, they got money.
It's true. Lots.
You can't pay for them. Maybe they can pay for you.
Good. Good. You thinking you G.I. Jane all of a sudden because you taking 2 karate classes. Calm yourself.
Very careful.
Okay, this Hellfire Club. Mm-hmm. They spun off something called the Inner Circle.
Yes.
There was a management change. Maybe Hellfire Club sounded gratuitously sinister.
True.
This Inner Circle is well hidden. Like very well hidden. Like 12
why they call it an inner
shell
circle.
companies
Come on.
hid all this business through Mauritius. 55 million US. Right there.
Woo! Hello, Hellfire Club. Are you recruiting?
This is fun.
Don't do drugs.
Okay, Barbara Bush.
I don't.
Reid, what are you doing? Homie's turned into a junkie on the side. What is going on?
Caitlin. She was grazed by a bullet. She's gonna be fine.
Put the phone down. It's expensive. Put it down. I don't know what's happening, but I feel like it's bad. What's happening? Yes! Wait, is it good or bad? I don't even know. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Why is he resisting?
You want me to pitch more baby names? I got a bunch.
Ugh, no. Look at your hair choice. I can't trust you.
We can't just give up. Our son was taken, Reid.
No.
No, he wasn't.
He left.
He left.
Thank
So
you.
did Lorna. We can't just keep acting like Andy was kidnapped.
Thank you.
He knew what he was doing.
Thank you. Lauren talking sense on it. He's like, great. Baby, is that you? Hey, y'all can't give her a sedative or nothing?
You're gonna be okay. We're all here. Just
This would have been a prime candidate for a C-section, people.
Well, it could be, but we don't know that for sure.
how long was I with Lorna for?
Nick, right?
I know her powers.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they look like. Sure as hell know what they feel like.
Okay. Like, could they have more metal around this building right now? I can't. Who thought of this? I don't think she needs y'all at all. She don't trust you. That's why she in this position. But she did ask for it, so.
Prosperity for all mutant kind.
That looks like the Third Reich. No.
Power went out. Everywhere.
Marcos, I'm so sorry.
What does that mean?
That the labor's over. Calm down.
Baby?
Thank you for not frying everybody. I feel like there should be a mutant yoga program because honestly, these guys got to keep their emotions in check.
Hello, Dawn.
Dawn? Okay. All right. Well, eMergence is right. Little Dawn emerged into this world with a hell of a bang. Lord knows her birth will definitely be an event that many will never forget. Woo! All right, here we are, guys. Welcome to season 2. This was a good episode. This was definitely good. We'll see. I think it's a good start. I wasn't sure after watching the trailer. I put up a video not that long ago where I watched the trailer to this video, to this show in season 2, and I was saying I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was thinking the labor might actually happen later in the series, but Some of my comments actually said they thought it might happen right off the bat, and you were right. I don't remember who you are, but good call. And I also thought the thing with Reid's powers potentially emerging was going to possibly be later in the season, and it still may be. They made sure to let us as an audience know that it's happening, but the second he was going to tell his wife about it, we got the interruptions, and he's clearly trying to suppress whatever's going on. It's very interesting that he's choosing not to share this, particularly when he's surrounded by mutants. You know what I mean? Like the one group of people that would understand that this might be happening, and he's choosing not to share it with them. So I am curious, though. I have a lot of questions about how this is working with Reid's power, because from what we know, like, there was no, I don't think he's ever had any semblance of them resurging in the past, right? Because he had no clue that he was a mutant, like not even a faint clue. And I'm assuming his father, at least, well, I mean, we don't know. It looks like his dad kind of left since he was a kid, but I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if maybe Reid had other incidences like this, but maybe it's because he's under a lot of stress right now. And that somehow, I guess my whole thing is, we all know that Reid's dad went through a lot. I guess we're just jumping into the episode, by the way. We all know that Reid's dad, you know, went through a lot to suppress Reid's his mutant genetic abilities. And he thought he had succeeded because Reid apparently didn't, you know, manifest anything for so long. But it seems like, why now? Do you know what I mean? Like, Reid's not a young man. Like, we don't know how old he is in the show, but we're going to venture a guess that he's probably in his 40s. How, after all this time, because this procedure, you know, Reid said he got sick and almost died when he was like 12. So it's been over potentially around 30 years, nothing. And now, of all times, he's potentially seeing the resurgence of his powers. And I'm wondering, the reason I'm asking is, like, what's changed? Like, what didn't happen in these past few decades that have suddenly happened now? So I'm wondering if it either has to do with the fact that, I mean, he's had a lot happen. Obviously, he's probably experienced stress in his life before, but, you know, having his dad, first of all, having his whole life uprooted, first and foremost, in a matter of weeks, because, you know, discovering both his kids were mutants, having his dad die, having to not, you know, lose contact with his mother, finding out that his dad did all these horrible experiments on him before he died, and then now, you know, seeing all these people die and all this kind of thing, and having Andy out there running amok. These are a lot of high stress situations for Reid in a very short amount of time. So it's possible this is just a reaction to him being super stressed out, that now, you know, it's unlocking something in his DNA. Or I'm wondering if it's the fact that Andy and Lauren combined their powers and he was in the presence of that. Like, maybe something about that, because it's, you know, that's all kind of his DNA, might have potentially unlocked something in Reid. I'm just curious. I don't know if they're going to even venture into it this season, because it's not a massive deal, but I'm curious. Like, what is it now that suddenly is waking Reid up to his powers, and why is he so adamant to hide it from everybody? That's the part I don't get. But I'm going to venture and throw a little prediction out there and say that potentially it might have to do with a lot of his feelings about the whole Von Strucker legacy, you know, dealing with all that, kind of like an extension of what Lauren was feeling last season about the embarrassment over what her grandparents did, or great-grandparents did. But anyway, that's an interesting scenario, and I'm very interested to, I'm wondering how long we're gonna have Reid continue to try to fight this, because it looks like he's medicating, self-medicating. How long is that gonna last, right? Like, how effective is that gonna be? And I mean, we've already seen it several times in this episode. We saw it with Lorna and the pain. We saw it with the girl who, the telekinetic who cut her hand. And again, at the end with Marcos, like, when there's high stress or high emotion, mutants can't keep their, you know, it's very hard for them to keep their powers under control. So I have a feeling that we may not have to wait too long before Reid's going to expose the fact that his powers may be emerging and he's fighting it for some reason, when we really actually need a super powerful mutant on the underground side. But anyway, I kind of just jumped right into that end part right away. I didn't mean to, but it just kind of came to mind when I was looking at how much we actually covered in this very first premiere that I thought might be spread out and dispersed throughout the episode or the season. But that makes me really excited, because that means that potentially means we're going to have a lot crazier stuff coming up, and that makes me really, really excited. That actually gets me very happy for this. So let's talk about some of the other things that happened earlier in the episode. First of all, we finally got a name to the face we've seen in the trailers, Riva. She is the gorgeous woman with the very, very gorgeous hair and the on-point outfits, who is now the new leader of the Inner Circle. I guess you could say the Brotherhood as we know it is dead, because she killed off, I think, all the OG members who probably were Brotherhood. They're gone now. And I knew it. For a second I saw that scene, I'm like, the old guys are definitely getting killed today. And I don't know, like, my only issue with that scene is that you've got these OG mutants, okay? These are, and I'm thinking, if you're part of the Brotherhood, if you were hand selected by like the Von Struckers and by potentially Magneto and these true badasses in the game, how did you not figure out, like, how are you so slow to think that this girl would not use her powers on you? Like, how are you so trusting you're gonna allow 3 telepathics as strong as a Stepford Cuckoo sitting in the room with you and not be like prepared, like ready and prepared to use your powers just in case? I mean, I suppose we could say age was a factor because we don't know how old they are, but people were saying they were relics, dinosaurs. To people in their 20s, they'll say that about people in their 50s, like they aren't even that old yet. But I mean, maybe they are super old, maybe they just look young, maybe we're looking at people who are 70s, 80s, 90s, but all the same, it just seemed like at least one person in that room should have been able to use their powers to defend themselves. It's just really shocking to me that they were so easily taken out. But I guess it was for the sake of the fact that we just wanted to show the audience we're moving on. Those guys are gone. The ones who kind of don't want to do things Reva's way are gone. So the whole idea now is that the inner circle is supposed to be radical. And what we saw in that beginning scene, apparently the Brotherhood was never about being super radical. I think we could even venture as far to say that even the original, like even when the Von Struckers were part of the Brotherhood, they probably weren't as radical unless necessary, because they realized that the best way to eventually take over is to infiltrate, right? We saw that in season 1, that the Brotherhood was strategically placing like the cuckoos in government and people in different areas of power so that they could, and obviously they were also accumulating money. Like they were looking to basically get themselves strategically placed all over, so when the time came, they could just kind of smoothly turn everything over to where they wanted it to be. And clearly Reva's not about that timeline. Reva is all about, I want it and I want it now, and she, you know, wants to hit the gas. And I can see where the Brotherhood was coming from in that it's an absolutely stupid idea to think that there's a way to not exist in the world with humans. Her idea, we found out that her idea is that there needs to be, I guess, a mutant state or some kind of separatist area for mutants only, and that humans aren't allowed. And that's just not gonna happen. That's not gonna work. Also because mutants don't always give birth to mutants, right? That mutants can have completely human children. The same way 2 humans can have a mutant child, 2 mutants can have a human child. It does happen. So what do you do in those situations? You're just gonna kick these kids out and be like, you can't sit with us because you don't have a power? Like, these things are not thought through. Clearly, Reva is very ambitious and doesn't necessarily think things through. She's very rash. And I think we saw some hints of Lorna picking up on that irrationality and that lack of empathy that Reva has. And I think when she joined them, obviously she was still fresh from Dreamer's death. She was still fresh from all the attempts on her life. She was very much focused on her child's safety. So I think, again, she jumped in a bit headlong to joining the Underground, and again, I think, the Brotherhood, but again, she was going with the idea that things were going to be a little bit less direct, I suppose you could say. But I can see her now, this episode, she's definitely having some second thoughts about how extreme of steps that Reva's willing to take with the new inner circle. But she's also still Polaris, and she's still a little crazy, and the fact that she just bought into this Third Reich dream that the cuckoos put in her head, like, I mean, in that moment, the only reason I was cool with it is because clearly if she didn't, she was either gonna die or she was gonna end up killing a whole lot of people by accident with all the pain. But a little disappointing that she's, again, I don't know, I feel like we're gonna have a whole season of Lorna going from one extreme to the other, which being bipolar fits with her character. I think we're gonna see her go from extremes of being like, whoa, 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 you guys are going way too far, you're doing too much, to hell with everybody, I'm gonna burn them all, right? So it'll be interesting to see how her character evolves over this season now that she's got the baby. Because again, I wasn't sure. I thought in the beginning that this baby was not going to be a factor until later in the season. But since the baby's here now, that changes a lot. That makes Lorna very vulnerable. And I think that might be, if there's a catalyst for Lorna returning to the side of the Mutant Underground, that baby's going to be the catalyst. Dawn is going to be the catalyst, because, you know, once you actually become, I mean, you become a mama the second you're pregnant, but when you actually have that child and you're bonding with that child and you actually see that, like, that baby is now a vulnerability that Lorna's never had before. That is something that Riva could potentially use as leverage over Lorna later on if Lorna doesn't fall in line. So I feel like this is something that's definitely going to become, that's what's going to push Lorna to or against what the inner circle is actually up to going down the line, for sure. As for other things that happened in this episode, Mama Strucker. I truly believe that there was nobody that would be able to annoy me more than Andy. And Mama Strucker is quickly just surging past him in that category. Y'all saw me last season. I was never a huge fan of Mama Strucker, but I appreciated the fact that, you know, she was willing to help the mutants, that she was willing to, you know, be that voice of reason who's in the human world and see that, you know, not all mutants are the same and all that other stuff, but she kind of always grated on my nerves just a little bit. Like, she was the one family member. Well, I shouldn't say that. I felt that way about Andy for a while too, but she was one of the ones where I'm like, if we lost Mama Strucker, I wouldn't be all that sad. But, you know, I let it go because overall she was fairly, you know, she was okay overall. But this episode, man, did this woman grate on my nerves. And not the stuff, like, I understand her wanting to find out what's going on with Andy. Like, she's a mother. Of course she cares about what's going on with Andy. Of course she's going to worry about him. Of course she knows he's in a dangerous situation. However, her blindness, her giant blind spot to Andy as far as the traits about him that I dislike heavily. Like, I know a lot of people in my comments were upset with how I felt about Andy last season. And again, I don't hate the character. Okay, I was fed up with him last season, especially towards the tail end. His decisions, his attitude, that's what bothered me. Like, as a character, he's 15. Of course, he's got plenty of time to change and grow and, you know, and be different. I'm not saying that, you know, I hate the character for all time, but he was annoying me last season. Despite the fact that he's a child and all those other things, he's still very aware of what's right and wrong. And the fact that, you know, his sister, Lauren's only a year and a half older than he is. So it's like, if she can see what's blatantly wrong and Andy can't, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are choices there that Andy made. And the fact that Mama Strucker just wants to just put on the blinders and just act like Andy's being sucked into a cult against his will and he has no idea what's going on. It's like, no, honey. As a parent, one of the hardest things you have to do is accept that your children sometimes make really bad choices. And it doesn't have anything to do with you. I think a lot of parents are worried about that because they kind of take it personally, like, oh my gosh, if my kid did this must mean I was a terrible parent. Not always. I think every parent does the best thing that they can with what they know at the time, and sometimes, despite all of that, your kids will still make really bad choices. That's just life. That's just what having freedom of thought means. And Andy chose to go with those people. Andy used his powers on his own father in an attempt to leave his family. And even Lauren knows that deep down, Andy is still in a place right now where he's ready to burn the world down. And she doesn't want any part of it. And I thought it was really cool because I'll admit it, I got fooled by that little dream sequence she had where she met up with Andy. I was like, for a minute, I was like, okay, maybe they are meeting up on the sly because they are close and they've got this power thing and maybe there's something going on here that I'm not seeing. But no, it's actually her nightmare. Her fear is that Andy will find her because she knows that Andy deep down at the moment is not about salvaging the world, you know, or salvaging, you know, this idea of a united world. He really wants just this whole mutant supremacy thing. So yeah, you know, the fact that she's actually actively wanting to not find Andy, that she actively wants to put distance between the two of them, that should tell her mother something. Lauren loves this kid. She was looking out for him. She saved his life. She doesn't want, you know, she doesn't want anything to happen to Andy, but the fact that she right now is saying to her mother, like, listen to yourself. Like, Andy chose to leave. He does not want to be part of this right now. He is exactly where he wants to be. No one's forcing him away. And if you think you're going to show up and force him to come back to us, you're crazy. And you're going out there getting yourself shot. She could have gotten Marco killed in that moment. All this stuff for what? One human woman trying to go up against an entire group of mutants who don't like humans. I understand that they're trying to do the whole desperate mom thing, but it's like she needs to take a minute and think about the bigger picture here, and that yes, she wants to get to Andy and try to like convince him to see the light, but she can't do that at the expense of potentially all of the underground, right? Because if she goes out there trying to save Andy, risking her life, of course Reid's gonna follow her. Of course Lauren's gonna follow her. And by extension, of course the rest of the Mutant Underground that cares are gonna go and try to save her. And that could be just another unnecessary carnage. So anyway, she annoyed me this episode greatly, and I'm hoping that we can, I mean, I don't want her to give up. I don't think it would all be natural for her to just be like, oh yeah, screw my son, whatever, he's an idiot. I don't expect that. Mamas love you unconditionally. That's what mamas do. But I need her to at least, I'm hoping that within the coming episodes, she can at least understand and respect the fact that Andy made a grown decision. Maybe he isn't grown, but he did make a grown decision. He's siding with people knowing that they murder people, knowing that they kill and maim without any remorse, and he's cool with it. At this point in time, that doesn't do anything to his moral compass. So that's just something that Mama Struck is gonna have to accept that about Andy, or be prepared for the fact that he might come up against her and not be her son, like come up against her as an enemy. So anyway, that's enough on Mama Strucker. She just annoyed me a bit this episode. As far as the other people that we saw in the episode, there wasn't a lot of focus outside of, you know, the Von Strucker family, or so the Strucker family and Lorna this episode. But with the other ones that we did see, obviously Eclipse is struggling with the fact that he can't be there for the birth of his child, which is heartbreaking. And obviously he's just not ready to completely give up on Lorna, and I don't blame him. Like, when you're with somebody who, with Lorna, she's kind of been all over the board emotionally in the past. So I think a part of Eclipse wants to believe that Lorna is not going to stay in this mode of wanting to be with the Brotherhood forever. But at the moment, obviously, I think his biggest concern is on the baby and wanting to see his child and be there and knowing that he can't. And so we didn't see a lot of him, but I do think that, I mentioned even before this video started, that he's gonna struggle, I think, this series with his morals versus his desire to be with his family. That's going to be a very, very hard decision, I think, for Marco coming up, because yeah, it's been 6 months, but now that your child, you know, now that the baby's here and this is something tangible, I think it's going to definitely change the game for him as far as where he's going to want to be, and also the influences that are going to be on his daughter going forward. And the fact that he doesn't even know he's having a daughter, that's so sad. And didn't get to name her. Dawn. At least go with Aurora. That's a little bit cooler. And then we had a little bit with Thunderbird, John, and Blink, and they were cute. I liked the little domestic bliss that they're living in. Looks like they are living together now, so things progressed a little bit quickly, but it's cute. They seem cute so far. John seemed a little off this episode, and I don't know if it's just that the actor just didn't have a lot to do, or maybe it was just the way it was edited, but John kind of came across to me as a bit, I don't know, withdrawn and distant, and that might be deliberate. You know, he was running the underground. Things were a lot better for him, and he was kind of in charge of everything just, you know, a short 7-8 months ago, and now less than nothing, right? So he may be going through his own internal turmoil. I am curious to see what they're going to do with his character this season, because it can't be easy to go from having this purpose of running the underground and getting this missive from the X-Men and trying to keep that alive to suddenly kind of seeing that fall apart. And it seems at the moment like the Circle is winning. You know, they've got the finances, they've got a lot of mutants behind them, and more importantly, they've got like some of the most powerful people that were part of his group as well. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes this season, and hopefully we'll get to see more of that. And even though obviously the Lorna storyline is huge, and so is the Strucker family, I really don't want to see him kind of get left in the dust as far as character development, or Blink, you know, seeing her grow and change in this, because again, her powers were the biggest thing that I was excited about last season, and I'm hoping that this season, we saw that she's been opening her portals fairly easily. That's not causing her problems anymore, but we all know that Blink can do a lot more than that. So hopefully we're gonna see a lot more evolution of powers this season as well. And I guess that's pretty much it. Like, as far as characters, that's pretty much all we got this episode. I mean, it was a lot, but not too much, and I think it's a good way to start the episode, or start the season. We now have the groundwork for kind of where people are at, like what's happened over the last 6 months, but what's gonna happen is still very much up in the air. Where alliances are gonna fall, who's gonna come into the picture, I think we've left that wide open, and that makes me super excited for the rest of the season. And I'm just really curious to see where our culmination point's gonna be. Where's the top? Where's the ceiling? Who's gonna come in? Who's gonna get involved in all this? And honestly, I think a lot of that's gonna come down to Reid. I think Reid's powers are going to feed into this season in a major way, and I'm very excited to see exactly what that is. So what did you guys think of this season premiere? Do you think it was good? Are you pumped for the rest of the season? Do you feel like they should have shown us more of some things or less? Do you feel like it could have been a bit longer? Please let me know what you thought of this episode. Leave it in the comments below. You know I love reading those comments and getting involved in the conversation with you. And if you like this video, guys, please click that like button. If you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. And if you haven't already, please hop on over to that Stardust app, download it, follow me there. I do reactions to almost all the shows that I react to, and they usually go up a lot faster than my YouTube videos. So hopefully we get to see you there. Until next time, see ya!